Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars.
Star Wars. Dun, dun,
my singing's
dun.
better than I have more vibrato. And melody.
You had to think of it. I thought
I did have to think of it,
did.
yeah. Anyways, this will be our review for Star Wars The Last Jedi, Thursday night, opening night.
Peter, you sound a little tired. Why don't you just amp it up a little bit?
Don't listen to this guy.
Alright, welcome guys. This is our review for, what do you want to call it?
On Cue Reviews.
Yeah. We did our first podcast, which was basically an introduction. And
that'll be coming out on Tuesday of next week. We're going to talk about Star Wars,
yes.
The Last Jedi. Just saw it, and off the bat, it exceeded my expectations. Basing it off of, because when I watch trailers a lot, I really hate that I can predict the beats of a movie.
Yeah.
And I was really worried with certain beats of the trailer.
It's kind of hard to predict with Star Wars though, because they, especially with Disney, because they're so tight-lipped about what they do a lot of times. But with this one, you know, it was kind of almost like misleading in the trailers to see what they were going to do with it.
Not even so much that, but it's more like, and I love Force Awakens, but it does have a lot of resemblances to Episode 4 in terms of story beats and where the story goes.
I was afraid that this was going to do that.
That's the thing, is like if you watch Episode 7, the beats are really similar, and there's not much difference in terms of story in that, just more of character setup. But in this one, everyone was expecting it to be a copy of Empire Strikes Back. And
there were times where I thought it was.
Yeah, there were definitely moments that you could resemble it, but I think it was different enough to where it spun a twist on what you thought it was going to do and did something totally different. Like you're like, oh wow, this is about to happen, and then no, wait, that doesn't happen. And a lot of stuff really surprised me.
So for the first half of this, we're going to talk about, we're going to do anti-spoiler.
Yep.
The next half, which I will continue on and say something, but it will be like spoiler alerty. So
we'll put a notification. When that happens.
We'll let you know. Just please be smart enough to just stay away from the next half of the video if you don't want spoilers. But I'll explain just remember that so I can tag on to that, because there was one theme in the movie that particularly I do think fit in line with Episode 5.
Okay.
But I was blown away with the sheer, I mean, I knew that the originals had a little bit, especially 1, 2, and 3, they had elements of comedy in them. You know, modern comedy, I assume. But like, this one I was impressed.
With how much comedy there was?
With how much comedy there was, but it was like cute comedy mixed with really funny comedy, and then there was like just like pure real like reactions like humans would have, like serious question, and then no, you know, like, and then like totally really like nonchalant answers.
It really hit. There was, I could see where the comedy could be misplaced at the wrong times. I think they hit the right beats with the comedy. Yeah. I wasn't as surprised just because it's Disney, and I feel like everything Disney does, they interject comedy into. And I feel like that's kind of a given now. Like, you're not going to see anything by Disney that doesn't have some form of comedicness to it. Like I don't think they will go full dark, to be quite honest. You know, straight, you know, grit. But that's just because they're Disney. Which I was really worried that they weren't going to get darker with the movie, and I think that they did do it in a way that, you know, appeased what I was hoping it would be, without, you know, abstraining from what Disney wants them to be known for, without making it too violent and too, you know, obviously bloody and gory. They don't do that kind of stuff in Star Wars.
But I was actually surprised with some of the stuff that they had in this, and I was like, that's for Disney, it felt a little ballsy. For Disney, I was like, oh, okay, all right. I have a little faith in Deadpool too.
Yeah, let's hope that they don't dumb that down, because it was pretty bad.
Well, I mean, it's not officially bought yet, like as far as the rights to those things, but it's looking like it is. Anyway, I really did. I appreciate the movie. It started really slow.
It did start really slow. It's a 2.5-hour movie. It's around, I think, 20-ish minutes longer than Force Awakens, so it's, I guess, deemed the longest Star Wars movie they've done. But yeah, it did have a slow start, and there were some awkward. I thought there was some awkward cutting and editing in there, but then again, it was a first viewing. Maybe when I see it my second time, because I was just more mesmerized, honestly, by the fact that I was seeing another Star Wars movie and
the nostalgia, the pure once the opening.
Crawl text.
And then you
start just sucks you in.
And you're just you're reading. You're like,
I wasn't really objectively thinking about certain things. So next time when I see it, I can actually analyze it a bit more. But it did have some pacing issues, I would say, especially in the first half. But once the movie gets going, honestly, it keeps up and it grabs you.
And I think that. For me, in the beginning, the acting is great. It's the same actors as before, so I know that they can act. I know that they've done the roles justice prior to this. But for some reason, in the beginning, it just seemed very awkward acting. I don't know what it was. I was just
it was a little cheesy.
It was almost like you took great actors and you gave them a script that they didn't fully connect with right away, and I was like, these actors they're having a hard time with the dialogue right now. And I was a little surprised with so much, what do you call it? I'm forgetting the name. When you talk, exposition.
Yeah.
There's, but Star Wars is kind of known for that.
Yeah.
I would say. They're kind of known for the exposition. But, it's, overall, I think they are keeping me on for the next one.
Yeah, I liked it better than Force Awakens, personally. It did enough different things to where I was surprised at every moment of the story. I couldn't really predict what was going to happen.
Yeah. And you know how when they even with the old movies, they remaster them with new things sometimes. I think what they did with some of the animals was just pretty cool. I thought they brought in some really interesting elements to the world, the universe of Star Wars.
Definitely brought a lot of new things that we haven't seen before, which is really cool.
The effect of the salt, red salt.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That's pretty cool.
And that's not a spoiler; it's in the trailer. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Good call.
I get to see someone going, "The red salt? What do you mean, the red salt? What, there's red salt?
What meaning does that have?" And then you start searching it.
Yeah, no.
You're like, does the red salt come in episode? What does it mean?
Salt.
But what does it mean? Anyway.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about this movie really without spoiling anything.
It is, but I think what we should just, But
one other thing I do want to note before we get into spoilers is how well they gave each character screen time. I really thought it was going to be predominantly all about Rey the entire movie. Everything was going to be her as the main focus, when really they do a good job. And it reminded me of Game of Thrones, how they split up parts of the movie with each individual character, so you get to see all these characters grow and meet some new ones along the way, and you feel like by the end of the movie that these characters are totally different than how they started at the beginning of episode 7.
Really good character development. I think that that's where they kind of start grabbing you in the story, is when they start to focus really in on the dynamics between all of the different, they introduced is it a spoiler for us to say her name?
No.
When they introduced Rose, I thought she was really great. This tags on to our podcast topic about typecasting, and you mentioned something about inclusiveness and diversity and making sure it matters for the story, not just to do it. And obviously, I think Disney's on that path. But I really genuinely think that her type, her look, what she presented to that role
really fit the character that they were going for.
And I thought it was powerful to see someone like her who has this inner conflict, from her loss, and B, she is this seemingly sideline character,
but she had enough to where it made her feel important to the story. She didn't feel like she was just shoehorned in for the sake of being there.
I'm interested to see where she goes. I'm interested to see how that's what I love about Star Wars, is that they really get you going with questions, and I'm over here okay, so I'm gonna work on what my character would be like in Star Wars. I think I want to do that, and I think that's something in the future that me and you should talk about.
He's mini Poe Dameron. He's Poe Dameron's
okay,
son.
Poe Dameron though, so Daddy.
Jesus. Okay. Well.
Yes.
I think we're gonna.
No. I just have to say, I don't care who you are. Like, Poe Dameron is just. He's like one of those really good popsicles. And I'm just gonna end it on that.
Pop?
Something like that. I mean, he was just. You know, I liked how he had flaws in this arc. I like he had an arc here, and I like where we saw his growth.
He wasn't just the badass pilot that, you know, knows it all. They gave him some dimension, some depth.
They made you look at him like, oh, he makes mistakes too.
Yep.
You know, and that's what I really liked. And it takes, and he's just so sexy. He's just so Okay. Anyway.
Okay, so we're gonna get into spoiler territory.
Spoiler territory already.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think there's really much else I can say personally that.
All right, so we're gonna give you like 2 seconds.
1, 2. Okay.
All right. So, hi.
Kylo Ren is not.
No, we're not just gonna say spoilers.
He's not Luke's son.
We're not gonna say that.
I'm surprised. I am surprised that they didn't do that. They didn't do.
No, because they already established that it was that he was like. I didn't believe that one bit when you were mentioning.
It could have been a falsified thing, kind of like Luke was when he was a child as well.
I thought Rey. I honestly thought Rey was going to be Luke's daughter.
See, but I thought...
And I thought either that or somehow her and Kylo Ren were brother and sister.
Yeah, I thought that... I did not think that Rey would be Luke's daughter because it was just too obvious.
Yeah.
That was just too obvious. That's what everyone was assuming. And I love how she literally is nobody. She is just a thrown-away child with shitty parents.
Just like the kid at the end.
Which we
don't know really about, but I think that was
the whole thing with that was, you know, you see the ring for the rebellion, and I think that was kind of just like initiating the fact that this generation of kids is going to grow up to fight for the rebellion.
He's a Jedi. Yeah, at the end he reaches for the broom and it hovers to him. Like he...
Oh, did it hover?
Yeah. You missed that? That's why everybody was like, oh, he's a fucking little mini Jedi.
No, he's not a Jedi. Because
not a Jedi, but he has the Force.
He's the Force.
And so, and it came after when Rey was talking to Leia about like, how am I supposed to teach? That. Because you know what? You were focused on... I was focused
on the sky.
And it was very subtle. It was subtle enough for you if you weren't looking at that end of the screen. Like one of those, like, you happen to be looking, like, you know, and either they wanted you to miss it because they wanted you to question it later or find out later, or they wanted you to know immediately right then that that's what Rey's talking about.
I don't think they wanted you to miss it. I think I was just an idiot and I missed it. But
I didn't want to say that.
I think that's really, now that I know that, I think that's really cool because the big theme of this story is that, you know, there is no Jedi, there is no Sith, there's just the balance and the Force, and then it's in everyone and everything. Mm-hmm. And that just is really cool because it just goes to show that, you know, you don't have to be a Jedi or be the chosen one, essentially, to be one with the Force. Well, I mean, it's titled The Last
Jedi, and I think it's funny that people were like, oh my god, The Last Jedi. Like, they're really reading into the title.
I think they were thinking that was Luke.
Well, I think they were thinking it was... Yeah, I think they were thinking that it was Luke, but obviously Luke is no longer with us. Rest in peace. And it's obvious that The Last Jedi pertains to somebody else. Mm-hmm. She is technically the Last Jedi, even though they showed the little kid at the end because she's Jedi now at the end. Yep. And it was obvious to me. It was kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, they're either building her up to be, you know, fake, you know, like they were trying to see if she was going to join forces with Kylo, but...
Which was another awesome moment of where... they kill Snoke. Seemingly, I guess, kill Snoke, which blew my mind. But that entire sequence is really cool because it throws you for a loop. You're like, oh, so, you know, are they related?
See, it didn't throw me for a loop.
It did. I thought, like, when they were fighting, I was like, their fighting felt so synchronized for a brief moment that I was like, I really think they're going to be related. Because at that moment, they hadn't revealed that, you know, her parents were nobody. And then after that scene is over, you realize that Kylo really just wanted Snoke gone because he was sick of being toyed around with and controlled, and he wanted the power for himself, essentially.
That was a twist to me, because I thought, well, I mean, I knew immediately when he didn't kill his mother that that's where the story was going to go, where he was going to help Rey in that moment. But I did not anticipate him to be like, let's rule the world together! Yeah, and we were like, so...
I thought he was turning good for a second, to be honest.
It just shows really a glimmer of it. I think that's what the point of it. And maybe the whole climax and build-up will be at the end, like Episode 9, when, they've been through this entire war, and he's somehow the supreme leader now, and hopefully becomes much more badass than he is now.
This is early on, but they better not pull an Episode 6 and have Rey get a glimmer of hope from him like Luke did with Darth Vader before he died. Don't do it.
If they do that, then... And that's what I was saying earlier. So the running theme for me in this episode that reminds me of Episode 5 was that she stayed with Luke basically the whole time, kind of like Luke did with Yoda.
Yeah, actually I felt the same way. Like when Luke went to go meet Yoda, he was sent there to meet Yoda. Yoda kept pushing him off and, pushing him away, same as Luke did to Rey.
And I think in that aspect, that's how they kind of, not copied, but like took over, like funneled back in. And I don't know if I'm still debating on whether or not I like that. I think maybe her being outside of the story so much.
I think it was necessary for her to realize that
to grow.
She can't rely on someone else to do what needs to be done. She has to do it.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that she didn't really get training from him.
No.
We never saw the training that Yoda gave Luke, in this episode. We didn't see that. And I think that's what made it different, because really she came from nobody, and then she,
became somebody
there, but on her own. She trained herself in a way which really is a testament to the power that in her that Luke was initially afraid of. So I think that's unique. But that's what reminded me of it, and I'm not sure if people are going to receive that well.
I immediately thought that the minute, like, when she was knocking on his door and he was just like, go away. Like, that's exactly what happened with Yoda and Luke.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, everything else was pretty original, I thought, in terms of, where...
Yeah. It's hard to say anything in Hollywood is original these days, but, like, that was... But I think there was a moment so the headquarters, the spaceship, what do they call it? I'm sorry. For the Rebels. The Rebel station, basically, the space...
How am I blanking on what
I know, right? Whatever. The craft... The spacecraft, the main ship, the headquarters ship, is... they all had to flee away from it.
Yep.
But they were under the impression that they were cloaked, and they obviously were not. So then those little ships were getting killed off. But there was the person who took over the command of the ship, because Leia got incapacitated or incapacitated. Yeah. Can't speak. But so she's kind of trying to figure out how to defend them, and she goes into hyperspeed, but she turns it around towards the
enemy ship,
Snoke's head ship, and the moment they do that, they cut off all sound.
Yeah, so like the ship just light speeds directly through Snoke's ship.
Yeah, you see visually what's going on, and it's kind of in one of those slow motion, like, but as soon as it goes, the sound, like, this is a film aesthetic that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I really don't care much about the moment of it happening, like, of what is happening. I love what they did with the visual and the no sound. I just thought it was really impactful. Like, you saw that, you were in it. You're like...
Well, it's like that sonic boom. Whoa. Like, it's just like boom, and then you get the... After a moment of silence, essentially, and it was cool.
But it was so much longer. You literally, it was like 2 beats, and you were just like, whoa, I have to really pay attention. And, like, you are, because it's Star Wars, but it really made your brain go into, like...
Well, they do things, and it's like, that's never been done before in Star Wars. Why have they never thought to light speed through a ship? I mean, granted, that's technically committing suicide, but it was a smart move, and I think it was like, because they always, one thing with movies is like they find cheap ways to get out of situations for the sake of continuing the story. but I felt like that was a really just
no, because
like,
it showed
authentic.
Poe. It showed Poe what leading is, and that's what him and Leia were arguing about when in the beginning.
No, that's what I'm saying is I think it was an authentic way of moving the story along.
Yeah.
Instead of just feeling like something that they just throw in there just because it's gonna, save the day. Essentially, it felt very.
Completely agree with you. Yeah, and I just like the fact that it carried the plot line for other characters. Mm-hmm. Like it gave Poe Dameron a growth moment.
Yep.
Because him and Leia had those issues in the beginning where he disobeyed her orders and ended up getting an entire fleet of bomb things blown up and people dying, and which is Rose's sister, and that's her loss, and that kind of stuff. So
lots of stuff going on in this movie, to be honest.
At least two and a half hours long. You'd expect it to give you some stuff,
Yeah.
But I don't know. What was your top moment?
Top moment. Honestly, Yoda coming back.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
that was probably my favorite moment. It just felt really, drived home the whole Star Wars, feel to me.
Yeah,
just seeing him clank clank Luke in the head and stuff. It just it was really nostalgic, and it just really felt the most authentic out of everything in the movie. I felt just felt like true Star Wars. Not that it's not true Star Wars, but it just had that feeling in it that made me smile.
Yeah, Yoda's such an iconic character, and I think I wish I could be in his shoes when he was filming, pretending to be Yoda. And I liked what they did with Yoda. Like, before, in the other episodes, it was like this blue ghost.
Which he still has that aura around him, but it's more of an actual figure with just a light aura instead of being a total transparent,
He looked transcendent. Mm-hmm. And
as
like opposed
to not CGI, which really made me happy. It looked like the 1980 Yoda.
I wouldn't doubt if there was a little bit of CGI on him.
Oh, probably.
But I think that they did really good puppeteer work with that.
All the effects were top notch, honestly.
Mhm. Yeah, the red saw.
I mean, the creatures, a lot of the animals and stuff. Like, I just feel like with CGI, it's so hard to make that stuff actually feel authentic. Like, it looks good. But when you look at it, you just know it's not real. I don't think they're to that level yet of that kind of high-end CGI, but especially when it comes to real characters. I
loved those little crystal cat dog thingies that they had. Like and obviously they're crystal as salt because that was that whole planet. But they were so cool and beautiful looking. Like I wanted to be next to one, and I love those little things. Because, those little like owl cat things, whatever they were.
The Pogs.
Do they have? Were they from other?
Talking about the little guys.
The ones that were with Chewie.
Yeah, they're called Porgs.
Are they in previous?
Nope. That's just their name.
Porgs.
They've been selling them and stuff, like little plush.
Oh, got it. That's how you know them. Okay, I was like, how do you?
Yeah, because the minute that they came out in the trailer, the first trailer, everyone was like, oh my god, what is that? And then Disney released what they were.
That they were adorable, and I loved that one of them, or probably all of them, became Chewie's little like buddies. Sidekicks.
Yeah,
and
they all started nesting them,
and they all started. Like he is, I can never do that sound. Never will ever be able to. But I thought the animals or the creatures that they created, and there was a line of dialogue that those little old like ladies that look like nuns. Little those.
The ones are like the servants for Luke.
Yeah, whatever they were, but I liked the line of dialogue that Rey had. She goes, "Who are those things?" Mm-hmm. Rather than what are those things. Like I just liked how that sounded. It was very like almost, I don't know, it sounds shitty. It like sounds stupid but progressive in a way. It was like who are those? Like they're still beings. Things as in I don't know what they're from. Yeah,
they definitely expanded in the whole like sci-fi universe of Star Wars in terms of like creatures and species and whatnot. We got an updated Mos Eisley bar scene too. Like it was like a high-end casino, so it wasn't like the shitty junk bar. I didn't know how
I felt about it. It was like the reverse of it.
Yeah.
I didn't know how I felt about it because I was like, oh, okay, I just all right.
It was definitely different.
So, so do you want to give what would your rating be for this?
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10?
9 out of 10.
Okay.
I had some pacing issues with the film. The length was fine. Just had a little bit of to me at least, a little bit of a rocky start. And you know, like I said, some of the pacing was off, but overall, I think it was a really, really good movie.
Yeah. Okay. I would give it. You give it a 9.
Rami's like, shit, I was gonna give it a 9. You can give it a 9 too.
No, you know.
Or you can be really weird and be like, I give it a 9.1.
I was honestly gonna do that. I would give it an. I would give it a 9. 9.1.
I had to do the 0.1.
Or like an 8.9.
No, give it whatever you would give it. Whatever you would give it.
Honestly, I would give it like almost like an 8.9 or something like that. Just because.
Where'd the point come from?
The point?
Yeah, why like 8.9? Why not just 9? Why 8.9?
Because it's like not great enough to be in the scale of a 9, because it's just one away from like perfect. You know what I mean? And it's not.
It
perfect.
is one away from perfect. I feel like it is.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, that's where I come in different, because I think that the pacing could have been worked on.
Yeah.
I think in the beginning they could have worked with the writing a little bit better to give
some of the delivery was
delivery much better, and I think that there's honestly, that is the only thing that I didn't really like about it. I think there was another reason, I just can't really remember. I guess my reason for 9 is like, you know, pacing aside, you know, once the movie gets going after the first, I want to say like maybe, I mean really, the first 20-ish minutes are pretty good. Then the pacing gets a little weird for like a half hour. I just didn't like the jumping, like you were talking about before. And I didn't really like that. Yeah, there's a lot of
cuts between scenes that just seem really like, you're in the middle of something, and then they cut.
That's what I was gonna say.
And then they cut to something else, and it's just like, it's like almost like you weren't finished with that scene yet. They just cut too early.
So here's why I'm giving it an 8.9. Actually, I would probably do an 8.8.
I would even say 8.5 if you're gonna go to that stretch.
Fine, 8.5.
Just keep it like, you know,
simple.
Whole numbers. You know.
Do you want to just redo it since you've like told me what to say the whole time?
No, I'm just joking. Say whatever you're gonna say.
Do you want me to redo it and make sure I agree with you completely?
No.
No, I would give it an 8.5 then, if we're going to go on that scale. So, the reason being is pacing, dialogue, and there was a little bit of charm that was lost on me from the Star Wars universe. In the last episode and in all other episodes, you got the Star Wars charm of seeing different worlds. Mm-hmm. It's Star Wars, you know, and planets and like different... you know, I did see a lot of variety in characters, I suppose, just in the background, but I didn't I didn't see like all of the different like places. That's what you know it to be, you know, and I obviously that's probably being built up to set it up for episode 9.
Yeah, it was very predominantly like, you know, spaceship oriented and
spaceship and then Rey. And you're like, okay. And then even when they did Luke, he was technically still where he was, you know? So I just thought, alright, I didn't see much variety in where they went, where the characters got, but yeah. So I would say 8.5. 8.5. And I would give Poe Dameron a 11. I'd give him 11 and my number.
Interesting. Seems a little biased. But,
wow.
I will. Yeah, that's our review for Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I hope you guys enjoyed this.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
Yeah, we want to do a review every week. We'll pick out a movie that we're gonna see as a duo, and then do a review for you guys, so you can get two different viewpoints.
Yeah. Follow us, subscribe here.
Yep.
somewhere. We'll figure it out.
We'll add a little clicky button, you know.
A little clicky button there, tap, tap. And then...
You don't have to subscribe. You don't have to subscribe.
Nobody has to. Everybody knows that they don't have to. But we would highly recommend it if you want to see more of our content. And to be honest, we're going to be, dishing out some stuff pretty regularly. So we would hope that you would want to tell your friends too.
Cool. Peace.